Well, hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. I am your host, the amazing Super Chris Mallard. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had a great weekend. It's Monday. It is Monday. Man, it just goes by so fast. I had a really good weekend. Friday was the last performance of Julius Caesar, and I knocked it out of the park. It was really good. I had a good time. Saturday went to Winter's Tale. They got blown out. Man, the wind was merciless to these people. Shakespeare in the Park kind of situation. Well, we might talk about some of those things, but otherwise, good morning, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you sinned safely. I hope you all were able to get in your weekend quota of blaspheming. Okay, we will talk about that some more in a minute. I'm just out of control here. Afternoon. Oh, it's 1500 for LA. Good morning, Elaine. I hope I said your name right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let's see what's going on. See you in just a minute. Good morning. Good. Where's it going? Come on. Good morning. Good.
Flanagan!
Yes, sir. Very disturbing, I know.
Fetch me Father Flanagan.
Your Highness.
You are in the presence of His Holiness, the Pupius Maximus, guardian of the sacred fire hydrant, defender of the holy tennis ball, and eater of the golden kibble, Pup Oliver Poopsalot the Fifth.
Your popedom. I heard you have a bone to pick with me.
Condoms, Father Flanagan?
No, thank you. I've got plenty.
That's what I mean. Why are you selling condoms?
Oh, you mean our Pharaoh Sombrero line of condoms. Understood.
You know how we feel about those around here.
Well, they're not to be used by the Catholics, of course.
Not for Catholics?
No, they're part of our Sinner Gonna Sin lack of faith outreach program.
A sinner gonna what?
It's like getting the tithe, but from the heretics and the heathens and the atheists.
Oh, well, when you put it like that.
But, Your Highness, this will reflect very poorly on the church.
True. You know what this means, Flanagan?
Warning label. A warning label on the box. Not for Catholics in big letters.
Too subtle.
Instant purgatory if used by Catholics.
I like it. Divine branding.
Excellent, your popedom. Will there be anything else?
That will be all. You may leave.
All right, we are back. For those of you who don't know, Bailey, the actress who played the nun in that show, she in that commercial, she was ill earlier this week. Last week. We got her all fixed up. We blessed her, prayed over, did the Jedi mind trick. We sacrificed several goats, and thankfully the evil god monster spared her, and she's now home. Yeah, she's actually the evil one is home today, so they're all out in the backyard with the evil one, chilling, chillaxing, relaxing, having a good morning. Let's see, I have two names. Notice there was a Stephanie name thing. I got our car serviced at the Volkswagen recently, and this woman had a name where Stephanie was spelled differently. And she said she was in her 20s before she realized that she spelled it differently than other people. Anyway, it was an interesting story. Good morning, everyone. Ron, how are you doing today? Stephanie Ryan is here. Elaine. Oh, is it Elaine or Elena? Elena? I always have them. Good morning. Beard of Empathy says you forgot your quota of blaspheming. That is unfortunate. I am ashamed of you publicly. But that's fucked up. But we'll forgive you for now. That's okay. Good morning. I hope you had a great weekend. We have Flockmeister is in the chat, and Ted Anderson is here. Ted is equating UFOs to demons. UFOs equal demons in the chat. And okay. All right. Yeah, maybe. Sure, if that's what you want to see it. But then wouldn't angels also be demons? would they not also be demons? Members? Oh yeah, no, that's cool. So I would think so. UFOs be angels and demons. Here, this is the deal. If you believe in the God creature, and there's a lot that kind of went on. Anyway, then God is obviously an extraterrestrial. He can't have come from Earth and created the universe, right? So obviously God creature would be an extraterrestrial. The host of heaven, the angels and demons that are in heaven, that kind of depends on, I guess, your interpretation. The serpent was around apparently before man, right? So that would probably mean the host of heaven was there before mankind. So I kind of get the impression that the host of heaven, angels, fallen angels, whatever those other things are, cherubim, various angel type forms, all those creatures are extraterrestrials. That's what I would, that's kind of how I would see it. That's how I used to see it when I was a Christian. God didn't make shit, says Kelly Shear. Good morning, Kelly. I hope you had a great weekend. Thank you for being here today. So UFOs and demons, that's a good question. I think they would be, if you believe in demons. Let's go here and check out what we've got going on. He could have read your joke. I didn't get your whole joke, man. All I saw was something about you punching nuns, and I didn't really know that was. I didn't see anything other than that. So I was like, I didn't want to read out that you said I punched a nun. I was actually covering for you. I was rubbing your nuts, but if you want me to, so Beard of Empathy punches, no, it wasn't Beard of Empathy. It was Flockmeister said they punched a nun. Let me see if there's a joke following. I'm sure there's a joke following. Flocky's always got something, but at that point, that's all I had seen. I didn't know what you meant. Waiting to see the joke. I'm rolling down to see if the chat contains the joke, or if you were waiting, is the chat stuck? Nope, chat's not stuck, is it? No, let me see if I see it. I don't see a joke. Really? Flockmaster, all I see is you said you punched a nun. That's all I see. If that's the joke, I don't get it. I don't understand. Ronnie Matthews says atheists are okay with murdering children in the womb in the present pretext of choice, but condemn God for killing children when he created and can bring them back. What a hypocritical, shitty world. Well, actually, Ronnie, you're misinterpreting the atheist worldview. First of all, you're conflating atheism with pro-choice. Many of us are, but not all of us are. Atheists just don't believe in God. Some of us believe in choice. Some of us believe in, that's just, you're conflating the two for one. Now, second of all, I am one of those atheists that am pro-choice, so I'll address that as well. No, you're mistaken. You are making claims that are untrue. I don't condone killing babies in the womb. There is this point between when these two cells come together, whenever conception, and whenever there's an actual baby there, and there's this debate as to when that is. And the religious people want to make it right at conception because it's like God's thing or some shit. But that's not kind of the way it is. And I don't agree with that. I think there's this point. And I don't think it's really my decision or your decision unless you're a medical doctor or a woman, especially a woman medical doctor, are the people who should be, I'm just saying. Women haven't had a choice in this matter long enough. And so to continue on, there's just this place between when the conception happens and when, it's an actual baby. And that's kind of where the debate is. And you Christians will make it sound like we're out here just slaughtering babies like it's, crazy. But that's not it, man. It's not a baby. It's a puddle of goo. It's a puddle of goo. Puddle of goo. That's all it is. You just don't like that answer. You don't want that to be. You want to force your religious bullshit on other people. Why do you care about other people's unborn babies? Now, if you want to talk about who kills babies, your God creature kills babies. You admit it here in your comment. Where's your comment? Ronnie Matthew, atheist. Let's see. The best method of abortion. You got, wait a second. That you guys enjoy. Like we enjoy it. See, I hope you just have a misunderstanding of, what you're saying is just kind of bullshit. It's just bullshit. Let me just say, Chris is an atheistic worldview. You can justify abortion because it's arbitrarily what atheism is, a shitty worldview. Man, I don't. First of all, no. Second of all, yes. Third of all, no. How dare anybody who worships the God of the Bible talk about anything about murdering babies or killing babies? Your God creature murders babies all throughout the Bible, commands Moses to go around murdering pregnant women, kills the firstborn sons of all of Egypt. Really? You're going to talk about babies, killing babies? Your God creature demanded Moses in Exodus to sacrifice children to him twice, 3 times in Exodus. Yeah, so this whole notion, the only reason, here's the deal. You, if you're what I think you are, give a shit about abortion only because you really just want to oppress women. It's just about oppressing women. You don't give a shit about abortions. You probably don't. How many children have you adopted? How many? How many did Jesus, how many did you adopt? Let's see, he brought back Lazarus so he can bring back to life babies to atheists. Now you're just a fucking idiot. Okay, so we'll go on. I'll go on. I'll just kind of pretend you're not even here because you're just a fucking idiot. I'm going to talk about what I was going to talk about today, which you might learn something. Christianity is built on child sacrifice, the murder of children. The people whom they worship, the heroes of the Bible, are many of them horrific murderous people. Several of them murdering children by the command of God. Whenever we talk about that, they're like, oh, God doesn't command the sacrifice of children. He would never do that. Well, dude, Jesus was a sacrifice. Well, why does Jesus have to be sacrificed? Because God demands it. That's why. Jesus is the firstborn son of who? Of Mary, first breach of the womb. Jesus is a child sacrifice. Jesus is what would be defined in the ancient Egypt whenever God went in and he slayed all the firstborn sons of Egypt. When he did that, how old were they? Didn't matter how old they were. All they had to be was the first breach of the womb. So you could be 55-year-old man. If you were the oldest son, you died. These are the words of the Bible. You should go read them. So, but to stay on point, it didn't matter, though. If you were a 4-year-old, you died. Most people think it's the first children of Egypt, but it's really the first breach of the womb. But most people think it's children. But still, God creature murdered children right then. Then God creature sacrifices his son to himself so himself will not punish us later. Really? That's just fucking stupid. It really is. But you believe it. And you hurt people over it. And then, of course, you're like, oh, God didn't sacrifice. You know, it is child sacrifice. Even if Jesus was an adult, it doesn't matter because a man sacrifices his child. If that man is 50 and his child is 30, it's still his child, right? Is it not his child? Now, if it was somebody else's child, it's not technically, by that terms, a child sacrifice. He's just a human sacrifice. He went and sacrificed another human. But whenever you sacrifice your own blood, your own issue, that is child sacrifice. Jesus is a child sacrifice. Just like Christians think God was all mad at the Canaanites because they were sacrificing their children to their God. Well, Jesus is a child sacrifice. Let's see, and there's another thing, like, why do atheists always think God has to be kind? Do all atheists like Cinderella stories too much? Nope. Why do atheists? No, here's the deal. You people claim Jesus is kind and loving and mercy and forgiveness. That's you people do that. We don't do that. We're expecting you to demonstrate that, to follow those things, but you don't. You hurt people. You oppress people with your bullshit. Instead of doing the kindness that you claim, you force your religious nonsense on other people. That's what you do. I mean, you've done it throughout history. We've got 2,000 years of Christians oppressing other people. Well, actually, like the first couple of 100 years is like Christians just going, oh, I'm being oppressed. And then after that, it was them always going, I'm being oppressed while oppressing people, because that's all what you do. You always claim to be the victim while you hurt other people. Good morning, D. How are you doing in Tucson? Keg, Patty Craig, mortalizing. How many Jesus points do you get per comment? Can you redeem them in heaven? There are things, whenever you talk about like Jesus and all this stuff, and then you come in here, Christians somehow think there's something holy about an infant, a baby. Have you noticed that a lot of them don't do anything to help children, especially Christian conservatives, don't do anything to help children. They want to take money away from anything that will help children. It's like their signature move, right? We all know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. They're all about hurting the children. Whoa, wait, that's weird. Because their religion is based on child sacrifice. That's just kind of the shit people who wrote that shit down. Jesus Christ is a child sacrifice. That's the topic of the show today. Christianity has got a child sacrifice problem. A lot of your heroes of the Bible had something to do in one way or another with child sacrifice. No. I just want to point out the Abrahamic religions. These are called the Abrahamic religions. Now, there's this story about Abraham, the father of the Abrahamic religions, almost sacrificing his son. Right? That's part and parcel of the story. Right? This is child sacrifice right there from the very beginning. Right? From the father of the Abrahamic religions, child sacrifice. Now, of course, Abraham didn't sacrifice his son. The angel stopped him at the last moment. They put a goat in its place. An innocent goat hadn't hurt nobody. You go ahead and put it in its place of the boy, kill the goat to absolve the man of his sins. That kind of makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. But anyway, you ever kind of wonder why in the story Abraham didn't seem to Abraham like it was a weird thing? You ever notice that? Yeah, so they actually kind of did quite a bit of that, sacrificing their own children. Abraham, this is the first time we mention him. Now, Abraham, technically the father, again, of the Abrahamic religions. Christians, you're one of the Abrahamic religions. Jesus is, anyway, you probably don't. Anyway, the father of the Abrahamic religions. And now they've talked about it. You know who Hagar is. Surely the priest up there talked to you about Hagar and how she ran away from the abuse and she was confronted with an angel, and an angel from the Holy Spirit said, girl, you need to go back and take that abuse. Just tough it out for God. Remember? That's probably the best way you've ever heard about it. But here's what really happened. And you can go read it for yourself. Go look it up. I'm just, all right. So Hagar rapes his wife's slave, gets her pregnant. Then they abuse that slave woman so much that despite being a slave and probably used to not being treated very well, runs off into the desert with her son. That is this man's child. She cares more about that child than this man does. Anyway, so she runs off, and then the angel stops her and says, you go back. Okay. And he was actually the man's wife, Sarah, the wonderful, beautiful wife of Abraham, the father of the Abrahamic religion. Sarah, yeah. She's the one who treated her raped slave who had a baby by her husband so horrific that the woman ran out into the desert with her daughter. And the angel told her to go back. I mean, I'm just kind of taking away the Pastor Lovey. This is what happened, right? Go read the fucking book. Listen to what I'm saying, and you know the story, and you'll know, shit, that's right. That's what he's saying. So she goes back. Hagar goes back because the angels of the Lord told her to go back and continue taking the abuse. What was her reward for going back? Anybody? Okay, so her reward, she went back. She was continually abused. Her son was whatever. They didn't really care for him, but he was best they had. And then, guess what? Abraham's real wife got pregnant. And then she had a son. And then once that son was weaned, they kicked Hagar and Ishmael, I believe his name was Ishmael, is that right? Out into the desert to die. The father of the Abrahamic religion kicked his raped slave baby mama and his child out into the desert to die. What a wonderful father of a religion. You guys have lied and murdered and killed for 2,000 years since. Now, this is obviously not your religion. If you're, some of you will come in here and go, why do you hate Christians so much? You must be a Jew. But you notice Abraham's not part of the New Testament. It's part of the Old Testament. It's the foundation of your religion. Most of you won't even admit it. You're like, that's Old Testament, but you don't even know what that means. I mean, the Old Covenant is just an agreement. That's all it is. You got to go to the Old Testament to look and see what the face of your God is. What did it do? What did it do? You know, it's like this. Let's say you got a neighbor over there and he's got like wife and kids, like, and whatever. And you hear the noise, you hear him beating them, hearing abusing them, all that stuff. And he's like, bah, 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 bah. He ends up murdering them all, drowning them in a bathtub and stuff. It's horrific. And then he moves to another apartment and he creates a new contract, a new agreement, a new, if you will, covenant. And now you interact with him differently. Now he's not your neighbor, he's your boss or whatever. I mean, it's just, the covenant is just an agreement, a relationship with you and the person. It doesn't change the nature of the person. That's probably a very bad analogy. Very bad, but it doesn't change the nature of the person. God was horrific in the Old Testament. The new covenant does not change what God is or what it does. Jesus, in fact, is kind of like the doorman that's going, listen, the Old Covenant, the horrific God monster of the Old Testament is what you're going to face if you don't come through me. That's just the agreement now. Before it was like sacrifices and all this other business, but now you get to come through me to get to the God creature and you don't have to sacrifice animals. But the God creature is still there. It's still there waiting to kill you and torment you forever in eternity for simply sinning, which is what? What is a sin? What is doing evil? What is lack of righteousness? All of those things are wrapped up in the term simply anything your God creature doesn't like. Anything your God creature doesn't like is a sin and wicked. Anything. And who chooses whose voice? Your God creature, all of you disagree on what your God creature's voice says, and therefore you've been killing each other forever since. But back to the story. We're talking about Moses here, or Abraham, the father of the Abrahamic religion. Child sacrifice. Not only did he almost sacrifice his son later on, and remember that son I just told you about, the one that got weaned off? Well, that was a very important son to him, right? His lineage, and then it was showing his love for God that he was willing to sacrifice that child, right? That's what the whole story's about. Right? It's about child sacrifice. The story of Abraham and his son, remember, it's a child sacrifice. Okay, now, Moses. We've talked about Moses. Moses is a big hero. A lot of Christians love Moses. He parted the water. They made a movie about it, right? The little cartoon movie. He's so wonderful. He did all these things, but they don't tell you about the horrific things Moses did. Moses was a genocidal maniac. Yes, absolutely. To listen to their own words in their own holy book, they destroyed an entire, I don't want to say civilization, culture, an entire groups of people, you know, according to their story, hundreds of thousands of people killed. Simply for, pissing off their God, really, essentially is what it was. It wasn't a vengeance thing. They didn't go kill the Midianites because the Midianites had attacked them and slain their children. None of that business. And really, to be honest, if you go read it, it's a conflated story. Originally, it was the Moabites. The Moabites had pulled some of the Jewish men away from the faith and had soiled them, and then now they were having sex with the women or worshiping other gods. That pissed off Yahweh. And that's what made him mad enough to send Moses after vengeance and slaughter hundreds of thousands of people, that some of their people were brought off. Now, when you read the story, and of course, go read it yourself. In the story, it talks about how Moses pulled like 1,000 men from each tribe. So that was 12,000 men who were sent abroad to do this killing. And I think somewhere it says the enemy had 300,000 armed soldiers. That's not counting just the men in general. And not a single man was killed among these 12,000 soldiers who went against the Midianites. Now, okay, isn't that rather pathetic and cowardly? I mean, if that's the case, in other words, like this God creature has given these men the power to protect them to where they're all going to, I mean, it's just really I just find that to be very odd. Anyway, so they murder all of these people, all of the Moses. And then the generals come back and they're like, hey, wait a second. So Ronnie says, so Chris doesn't know when a clump of cells become a baby instead of giving it benefit of the doubt and restraint, killing Chris, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's not for you to decide. That's the whole problem. It's not for you and your religious bullshit to decide. I'm not going to continue engaging you about this because I guess you're just here to talk about abortion. You're not listening to anything I'm talking about in the show. If anything, your religion should be pro-abortion. Right now, you're just pro-forced birth because it's oppressive to women. But dude, you should be pro-abortion. Listen to what I'm talking about. Abraham was aborting. He was going to, hey, this is child sacrifice. Like you fucking idiots on the right wanted to believe, you know, how the people on the left wants to abort babies at 9 months or post-birth abortions. No, that's called child sacrifice, and that's what you fuckers do. That's what I'm trying to tell you about the story. You're just not fucking listening. Moses, Abraham, start with Abraham, the father of the what? Abrahamic religions was sacrificing children. Do you give a fuck? You don't give a fuck. No. You're just going to, you don't give a fuck. You're just an idiot. You're here to push some kind of idiotic, moronic agenda. I don't give a fuck. I am not qualified to determine when that puddle of goo is a baby, and neither are you. And neither are your religious constituents. It's just not yours to decide. Just not mine either. So anyway, on with my bit. Well, yeah, actually, before I go on, again, Moses. Now I'm talking about Moses, and you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm telling you that your God creature commanded Moses to murder pregnant women by the sword. Moses, the guy who parted the water, who freed our people, all that business, threw the staff down, remember? Come on, you know the story. He threw the staff down and it turned into the snake, right? Come on, you know this guy. This is the same guy. He murdered pregnant women. Why do we know that? Because he told us himself. He says, kill every woman who has known a man. That includes pregnant women. He says, wait a second, you spared the women. Whenever his generals come back after going and slaughtering all the Midianites, his generals come back and they're like, hey, we spared some of the women and the this and this and this. He's like, wait. You spared them? Women and children, you spared them? No. Kill all the women who have known a man. Kill all the little ones among the males. That's all the little children. Kill all the Moses, commanding by his very mouth to murder babies. And you have the fucking nuts. You were, yeah. Jesus, anyway. Continuing on, because I'm going to get to Jesus later. Jesus actually does the same thing, right? Jesus, you want to talk about Jesus' love and mercy, but if Jesus is God, Jesus commanded this, right? If you say Jesus is God, then Jesus commanded the murder of babies. Did Jesus command the murder of babies? Let's use logic. Use your reason, Leonidas. If Jesus is God and God commanded Moses to murder children, then Jesus commanded Moses to murder children. Who the fuck are you to dare walk into anywhere as a Christian and defend anything about children? Anything. Not only does your priesthood rape them by the thousands, and it's not just Catholics. Don't go, it's the Catholics. No, it's the Catholics, the Southern Baptists, the Jehovah's Witness, all of them. It's like their signature move. It should be considered tantamount to child abuse to knowingly leave your child with a Christian. They're so apt to rape them. Just look at the news. I want to mention something. I am starting a weekly newsletter, 2 of them. One of them is called The Millstone. And what The Millstone is going to do is it taps into these RSS feeds from around the country, and it reports on all the sexual abuse claims put on by victims or onto priests of the church, members of the church who have sexually assaulted somebody or something. It's going to report on that every week. Last week, 29 report. I'm just building it out. So I just saw how many, like they pulled in the data of how many. There was 29 reported priests, pastors, football coach, what do you call them? High school religious football coach, prayer youth ministers, whatever. 29 just last week across our country were reported for raping children. Actually, to be in truth, it's not just children. It's anybody. The Millstone is about raping anybody, not just children. There's a story. I'll tell you this quick story since you probably don't know. Smarter than 2,000 years of history. Just go, I'm telling you where it's at. You go read it for your damn self. So there's this story about the millstone. And a lot of Christian pastors will talk about, well, Jesus has said, protect the little ones because the little ones, anybody who hurts a little one should have a millstone thrown around their neck and dumped into the sea. You may have heard that story. But that's not what if you go read the Bible, and I encourage you to go do so, that's not what the story's about. Jesus is sitting there talking to his disciples. And a boy is there, and he pulls the boy over onto his lap, and he says, you are like this child. You're like my child. You're like my children. So he's using that child and them as a metaphor for being the father between him and his children. They are his children. Not this child. He's not saying the child is his child. He's talking to adult men, and he's calling these adult men, his disciples, his children. And if he says, if anyone causes any of you, my children, to stumble, they should just as well have a millstone hung around their neck and tossed into the sea. He's not talking about protecting children. He's not. He's using that child. Using the child, that's bad enough. He's using that child as a metaphor. And then cast that child away. This is not about children. It's about his disciples. If anyone causes any of my children to stumble, they should just as well have a millstone hung around their neck and thrown into the sea. So anybody who causes his children to stumble should have that. Now, what does that mean? So does that mean the 10-year-old boy who was an altar boy, who maybe the priest thought was a little too sexy, that he tempted the priest, and now the priest had to go do the thing with the boy, and now the priest is falling because now the priest is falling. The priest has stumbled because of that boy. That boy caused that priest to stumble. You know, the Bible's very big about victim blaming, right? Man fell. It's man's fault that he fell, despite God putting him and the woman in the garden. And they don't own nothing. They put the serpent in there and they tricked him and God lied to him. But it's all man's fault and victim blaming. God's all about victim blaming. And here we are again. Let's see. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Well, not much, probably. Where are we? Because I'll get back to my thing here. We've got other people, though, throughout the Bible where child sacrifice is a thing. Now, I've been rattling along. I do that. I tend to do that myself. I want to give you a couple of things. Now, throughout the Old Testament, as I mentioned to you, and you can go look it up. Where is it? Let me go find it. I don't even know that I have that one in here. Let me go here. But, I mean, there's this place. It's super easy. Why do I always do this? Why don't I just look this shit up? Did Moses so Numbers 31, 17 and 18, Moses says, therefore now kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known a man by sleeping with him. But all the young girls, actually, my understanding is in the original Hebrew or original, whichever, I think it's Hebrew. In the original ancient Hebrew, it says, kill all the little ones among the males, and then keep all the little ones among the females for yourselves. That's what it says. But anyway, let's go with this. But all the young girls who have not known a man by sleeping with him, keep alive for yourselves. So this is Moses commanding the murder of children. Moses. You give a shit about child sacrifice. You don't care about babies. You don't. Even today, modern Christian, you don't give a shit about babies. No, there's all the pro. Now, if you're in there going, what about all the churches that help all the... No, you can't even argue that. That one woman disproved that. The one woman who was calling around all the churches going, can I have some food? Me and my baby are hungry and all this stuff. And they wouldn't give her food. So many of them. I mean, she called hundreds of churches, put it on the internet. It went viral. Go watch it. Go watch all these churches who are, what's their mission? And she calls them and they're like, oh, well, do you go to our church? Oh, no, well, we save those resources for people who go to our church. That kind of, she said there's several of them, and you can go listen to the actual recording. Several of them, they went, you know what? Our church don't provide those services at all. They don't give to the money to the poor, food to the poor, none of that business. Everyone is now dumber having listened to what you just said. You're probably right. Are you dumber? Wait. There's a lot going on. I don't know which Pharaoh was supposed to be in the Bible off the top of my head. Let's see here. Everyone is now dumber. Let's see. I want to see what else y'all are. What are y'all talking about? It's not even remotely correct. See, that's the whole deal. Sometimes can we see the platform chats or just YouTube? Well, these are all. If you're on the screen, they should all be the platform chats. They're both. I'm only streaming to YouTube widescreen and vertical, and so what's on the screen is both together. Now, YouTube is going to release an ingested thing, so it'll mix them all together, and we won't have this problem soon. But it's kind of the best I can do to where y'all can see the chats in the other stream. It's just, and if you're going to talk to somebody over there, you either got to go over there or type and hope they read it on the screen and respond back. And that, as far as I know, that's the way it is with everybody, unless you're on the new program. They actually have a dual ingest stream coming from YouTube, but we'll see how that goes. Let's see here. Man, the chat's kind of lit this morning. Let me just kind of catch up. The Bible is less about being holy and more about good rules to live by. Is it? Is it really? I don't think so. What are good rules to live by? That's kind of what we're going through. When we talk about child sacrifice, Abraham, remember Abrahamic religion? We were talking about him. Abraham pitched his own wife's slave, his rape baby, out into the desert to die. The father of the Abrahamic religions did that. He's also the same guy who in Genesis 12 gave his sister wife to the Pharaoh, who then gave her back and said she gave his family a disease. Ooh, same guy. Father of the Abrahamic religions. Even when we were moving on, we'd moved on to Moses. Moses is a little further down the line. You know Moses. You remember Moses parted the water, led his people to freedom, but they all died in the desert because the god monster is evil, and they pissed it off. They pissed off the god monster. It freed them from Egypt, but because they immediately went back to worshiping the gods of their old parents or whatever, their old gods, it punished them by making them all die in the desert. So that's why they wandered in the desert for 40 years, in case you didn't know. None of the people he freed from Egypt moved and survived into the promised land, with the exception of maybe two people. Not even Moses. None of them made it. So they were all freed from the bonds of Egypt solely to die in the desert over a period of 40 years. They complained about the leadership. Korah and his group complained about the leadership. Moses said, meet here tomorrow and the Lord will address your issues. They met there tomorrow, and the Lord had the ground swallow them up and murder them all of them, their entire tribe, murder man, woman, and child, every one of them. Then later on, some of them complained about having to eat manna all the time. They've been in the desert forever. They're just eating manna. It sucks. And so God sent snakes to sting them instead of, this is what happened in the desert, right? But also in the desert, in Exodus 13:1, I love this part. No, it doesn't. In Exodus 13:1, it says, and actually there's a second place. There's two places in Exodus 13 alone where it tells you to sacrifice your firstborn. One time it tells you directly, sacrifice them to me. They belong to me. And then a few little ways down in the same chapter, there's a mention of redeeming the children with something else and but either way, there's sacrifice of children. Exodus 13. I want to read it though. I might be mistaken on the second part. The first part, murder. Moses, Exodus 13, verses 1 and 2. The Lord said to Moses, consecrate to me every firstborn male, the firstborn offspring of every womb. Remember I mentioned that earlier. Jesus is the firstborn offspring of Mary's womb. Therefore, by that, Jesus is the firstborn male. Consecrate to me every firstborn male. The offspring of every womb among the Israelites belongs to me, whether human or animal. Then Moses said to his people, commemorate this day, the day you came out of Egypt, out of the slavery, because the Lord brought you out of the land with a mighty hand. Okay, so essentially, and it does tell them later on somewhere that he does this, he demands the sacrifice of their children because he murdered the firstborn sons of Egypt. So since he was willing to do that for them, they should be willing to give them his firstborn. So let's move in. Verse 11, after the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and gives it to you, by slaughtering, of course, all the Canaanites, as he promised on oath to you and your ancestors, you are to give over to the Lord what? The firstborn offspring of every womb. That's verse 11. Exodus 13:11. That's twice in the same chapter right here where it tells you to give your firstborn sons. All the firstborn males of your livestock belong to the Lord. However, it does say you may redeem a lamb with every firstborn donkey, but if you do not redeem it, break the donkey's neck. Redeem every firstborn among your sons. If you do not redeem it, what do? Okay. Now, not done. And then we'll talk about, of course, I'll briefly go on about Ezekiel. That's kind of what this show is about today. I do talk about this often, but in Exodus, again, let me go back over here. I hate you, new notepad program. I hate you. You're shit for notes. You're shit for notes. Exodus 22, same book. Exodus, God talking to Moses, Exodus 22. You must give to me the firstborn of your sons. Now, if you go read Exodus 22, it's him giving them rules. Let's go look at that. Exodus 22. You probably don't want to look at that. Exodus 22. I'm misinterpreting it, of course. So, the protection of property. Whoever steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it must pay back 5 head of cattle for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. Ooh, that's a law. If a thief is caught breaking in at night and struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, the defender is guilty of bloodshed. Texas, looking at you. You've got that anytime they break into my house, they dead. Well, according to this, you shouldn't kill them after sunrise. I know, you're upset. Sucks to not be able to murder someone. It goes on about itself. These are the rules. You should not do this. If anyone borrows an animal from their neighbor and it is injured or dies while the owner is not present, they must make restitution. But if the owner is with the animal, the borrower will not have to pay. If the animal was hired, the money paid for the hire covers the loss. These are rules. God's laying out the rules. Social responsibility. Anyone who has sexual relations with an animal is to be put to death. Why do you think they did that? Why do you think they put that in there? So the people who you think are like the holy and religious of the Old Testament were fucking animals so often that they actually had to put it in their religious text to stop doing it. Wait a second. Verse 18, do not allow a sorceress to live. How many people, women I suspect mostly, obviously, have been killed for that? That very line right there, that is not a zero number. It's not a zero number for that line right there. And then, of course, here's number 20. Number 20, this is in Exodus, God telling to Moses and his people, giving them laws. Whoever sacrifices to any other god than the Lord must be destroyed. Interesting. Merciful, loving. But that's not really the part we're getting to, is it? That's not what we're getting to. That's not even the worst part. The part we're getting to is here, near the end, where it says, do not, and this is verse 29, do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats. You must give me the firstborn of your sons. Do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th day. This is your God creature commanding Moses and his people to sacrifice their firstborn sons to him. Abraham almost did it. God is commanding Moses to do it. There are a couple of places in the Bible where it does indeed say, don't do it. Don't sacrifice your children. It does say that. Why would it say that if they weren't doing it? They were doing it so often that they actually had to write it down and say, don't do this anymore. Don't do it. Why were they doing it? Well, parts of their holy book tell them to do so. Don't they? Clearly, evidently. Now, there's Christians out there who are already, I'm sure, claiming I'm taking this out of context. Your God puts it in context. He does. So these are the people, you know who these people are. These are people wandering in the forest because they were freed from Egypt and now they pissed God creature off. So now they're wandering in the forest. And they're told to sacrifice their firstborn sons. These are the things we know so far. Now we're going to go to Ezekiel. Old regular folk, I'm going to move past this shit one of these days. I just can't get over it. Now we're going to go to Ezekiel. And in Ezekiel, God brags about that experience. He was telling Ezekiel, son of man, about what happened there. He's talking about the people lost in the desert. And he says, so I gave them other statutes that were not good and laws through which they could not live. I defiled them through their gifts, the sacrifice of their firstborn sons, that I might fill them with horror so that they would know I am the Lord. So right there, so if you're out there going, I'm taking out of context, or if you're out there thinking they were somehow substituted or redeemed all the time, no. He describes it right here. He tells you what he did to them. Firstborn of their sons. God creature. You're in here crying about abortion, a puddle of goo. You guys should be keen and eager to be off killing babies. Your God does it all the time. All the firstborn sons of Egypt, remember? Remember whenever they free Egypt, to free the Jews from Egypt? Oh yeah, you all know the story. It's called Passover, right? They freed, remember Passover? God hardened Pharaoh's heart so God could show Pharaoh and them his true nature, and his true nature ended up being the 10 fucking plagues of Egypt. The 10th one being what, my friends? The sacrifice, the murder of all the firstborn children of Egypt, the firstborn sons of Egypt. So if you didn't want your son to be murdered, you went out and you got an innocent lamb, an innocent animal that done nothing, and you hurt that animal and you get its blood. And then you go and put that blood over your door. And that is called Passover. And the angel will pass over your house. What a horrific fucking God monster you worship. A horrific God monster. And now here's the cute part. What was the Last Supper? That's right. The Last Supper was Jesus celebrating what? What was Jesus celebrating? Passover. Passover is what? Murder of children. So Jesus was at the Last Supper celebrating the murder of children. That really is tasty. Okay, so now we go on to the future. Jesus talks about what's going to happen in the future. Jesus tells us Jesus is going to come back. And you're like, praise Jesus, he's going to come back. Yeah, he's going to come back. Revelation, he's going to come back. He's going to come back and he's going to slay the wicked, murder the wicked. Jesus and his angels are going to do that. And Jesus is going to do that. You're all excited. Matthew, he tells you he's going to do that. He's going to come back and slay all the wicked. And then, well, what does that mean? Anybody, again, I'm not going to harp on this one all too long, but anybody who's not a Christian and not the right kind of Christian is going to be murdered by Jesus and his angels. Anybody, man, woman, pregnant woman, man-child, you kind of hope that they want to keep the virgin daughters for themselves. There's a precedent that that's what they do. And when Jesus says out of his own mouth in Matthew that he and his angels are going to come get anybody who is not righteous, anybody who is wicked or sinful, and throw them into a burning furnace with weeping and gnashing of teeth. If you're a Christian out there and you're familiar with the weeping and gnashing of teeth, that's kind of where that comes from. Weeping and gnashing of teeth. It says it twice in Matthew. Weeping and gnashing of teeth. He's going to throw everybody who doesn't worship Jesus the right way. Man, woman, child. Yeah. Jesus is talking about murdering children. Now you would think, oh no, not Jesus. He would never do that. Again, look at what their pattern is. They have no problem murdering children. And even Christians here in the chat, I've seen them defend it. So God killed them or created them. He can take them out. You're mad at God because he's destroying babies that he created. And yet you're happy. They make it sound like we're happy making abortions, giving abortions, doing abortions. Like we run around gleefully giving abortions. But then again, let's talk about that other reason why you Christians really should be for abortion. You should be. Why are you not? It doesn't make a lot about you doesn't make sense, to be fair. Here's the deal. Let's talk about this. What happens to a child's soul? You're worried about that baby's soul. What happens to that baby's soul if it's aborted? Does it go to hell? Is that what you think? You think your God creature's so fucking hideous that a newborn soul that hasn't even been born yet, newborn into the womb, that hasn't even been born yet is automatically sinful enough and deserving of hell. So if it gets aborted, it's going to hell, then you're a piece of shit. I don't know what the fuck we can do with you. However, let's go on. Let's just assume you're a decent human being. Okay, maybe we're not talking about the same kind of Christians. Anyway, so when the baby is aborted, that soul goes where? It goes to heaven, right? It goes to heaven. Right? Isn't that what you want? I mean, this living on this earth is a tiny, tiny fraction of eternity and just bullshit. You sacrifice so much in this little here for that long there, right? So why with the baby would it even matter to you? It's instantly cha-ching into heaven. Cha-ching. You should be running out and having babies and getting pregnant and getting abortions all the time. Well, you're doing God a favor by cha-chinging souls right into heaven. I don't understand the logical issue between you people. Now, let's talk about something else. We're not done yet. So now the baby is born. Okay. It's, I don't know, and on the Christian, of course, again, sinful and wicked, must be spent in hell or whatever, unless it's, I don't know. But, so the baby is born, and the longer it goes through life, the more chance it has of stumbling, right? I mean, it gets 11 or 12, starts seeing boobies on TV or whatever, gets into 20s and starts drinking. The longer it lives, the more likely it is to stumble and go into hell and perdition. Is that not true? So why the fuck would you want it to be born anyway? There's no logic to your thinking. And I really don't see how my argument or anything I've said should have anything to do with my sexual preference. Why somebody in the chat would be so small-minded to think that because of what I said. I mean, you think homosexual is a slur, and that's really a reflection on you, not me. Not me at all. I'm not. I'm actually a happily married heterosexual male. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not. Why should I be? If I were gay, I am in a very welcoming and open community. I would have no problem with that. They would welcome me. I mean, I support them. We support each other. I'm not gay. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean I shouldn't support them because they're under attack by you. They're not under attack by us. Yeah, they're not. Gay marriage. Do you approve of gay marriage? So would you go into the Supreme Court and have the Supreme Court overturn gay marriage? Would you? Raise your hands, Christians. Say you would. Say you would go out and intentionally attack gay people who are not doing anything to hurt you. Marriage, for some reason, despite the billions of people who are not Christian, marriage, are none of them allowed to get married because marriage is somehow a Christian sanctified thing? I don't get where your head is at. Religion, other people could get married outside of Christianity. I don't see why you guys seem to think you own marriage. It's just stupid. You know, hominid logic, you're right. That's a good point. At no point in the story of the Bible is the God creature a hero. Not once. Never. It's a horrific monster. This is a challenge I've mentioned. That in the Old Testament, I'll talk about the New. I don't mind talking about the New Testament, but remember, the Christians don't want to talk about the Old Testament because it shows the face, the bare naked face of their God, and they don't want you to see that. They don't want to see it. They lie to themselves and says Jesus something about the 10 Commandments. Only listen to the 10 Commandments and the Sermon on the Mount or some bullshit. But what about the face of God? What about all the actions of that God? You know? What about all the things it did? Here's the deal. In the old covenant, you pissed off God, it's going to fucking get you right now unless you sacrifice an animal to it. That's the agreement. That's the covenant. Did you hear what I just said? Covenant? You pissed me off because you offended me and you did something I didn't want you to do. And our agreement is that when you do that, in order for me to not kill you, not put you in hell. They didn't do hell back then. In order for me to not kill you, or punish you in other horrific fucking ways, looking at you, Job, you need to go hurt an innocent animal. That's the covenant. That is the covenant. The new covenant, allegedly, is that this same creature, instead of telling you got to hurt an animal because you pissed it off, what it did was come down here and, like a pedophile, raped a 12-year-old girl. Uh-oh, sorry about that, guys. Oh, that's right. You guys are the ones that want to call Moses or Muhammad a pedophile. Not wrong, but I mean, you really can't throw that shoe unless you're wearing it on the other foot in your case, because God creature raped a 12-year-old Mary. Sorry. Anyway, so got her pregnant so he could kill himself to himself. Back to where I was going. And this whole notion that you don't want us to look at the face of the old God creature, You don't want us to see it? And Jesus is it. You want us to believe that the old covenant, remember that agreement? That's what we're talking about. It's an agreement. Oh yeah, that's the new covenant. The new covenant is just that you have to accept Jesus, and he was the sacrifice. There was, in the Old Testament, you made me mad, you have to sacrifice an animal. Now, allegedly, in the new covenant, you made me mad, but Jesus already did the sacrificing thing. So as long as you believe, it's just a new agreement. It's an agreement on the process of how we interact. That's what the covenant is. It does not change who or what God is. Now, as I was going to say, by that token, God is horrific throughout the Old Testament. It is murder, death, kill. I think there's very few times, if you can find any, where it does anything reasonably, calmly, wisely, with love, compassion. I mean, just the examples we've talked about here on this show. Right here, just today, Moses. Jesus talking about he's going to do what? I mean, I'll come back and murder all the unrighteous. Everybody, man, woman, child. Jesus is going to come back and murder billions of people. Yeah, you don't know Christianity. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm reading it right out of your fucking book. As disgusting as it is. I really need to get to some more reading points. So I got a lot of good ones. Not just there though. There's lots of things. I just want to just give you my scripture real quick so you can quit crying about the Matthew. Here you go. Matthew chapter 13, because I know you're crying. Matthew chapter 13 about Jesus killing billions. Jesus says, the Son of Man will send out his angels and they will read out of his kingdom everything that causes sin and all who do evil. They will throw them into the blazing furnace where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's Jesus and his angels literally burning billions of people. He says it again. Jesus, these are the red letters. Go read it for yourself. He said, now you're like, well, they deserve it because they're wicked. Well, what is wicked? Wicked just means you don't believe in Jesus, or you didn't believe in Jesus, or you didn't believe in Jesus enough, or you know what wicked is. It's not like you went out and had to murder babies to get that title of being wicked. No, all you have to do is not believe in Jesus Christ or not accept that Jesus Christ is your path to God, whatever. And that's wicked. That is sinful. That is evil. Matthew, again, 13 says, verse 49, this is how it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the blazing furnace where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, as we've already established, the God creature loves killing babies. So there's no reason to believe Jesus and his angels would spare any of the children that were the children of the unrighteous. No reason to believe that based on the Bible at all. None. Again, looking at the Old Testament, when does God do something calm, reasonable, sane? We talked about Korah, and whenever Korah complained about, what about David and the story of David? Jesus is supposed to be of the line of David, isn't he? Because David is so fucking wonderful. Wait a second, this is David. Isn't he the guy that murdered people and cut off the ends of their dicks? That's David, isn't he? Isn't David the one who murdered 200 people instead of just 100 people in order to get enough dick flesh to satiate the king so he could marry her daughter? That's the lineage Jesus comes from, right? Same David that had sex with a married man's wife and then had that man killed, so I guess he wouldn't be discovered. I don't know why he did it. But then, yeah, the same David. Piece of shit. Sounds like a piece of shit to me. I'm just curious how many people out there are named after David and don't know what a piece of shit he was. Do you have a loved one who's on their deathbed, but they've yet to give themselves up to the Lord?
Are you sure you don't want to come to Jesus?
No.
This is your final chance.
No. Worried they're headed to the fiery pits of hell.
Your very last chance.
No. I've been wicked and sinful. I deserve to burn in the hot place.
As you wish. Farewell, my heathen husband.
Farewell, my... Well, fear not, my wayward child. Introducing Father Flanagan's line of post-mortem baptismal kits. No more worries about being miserable alone forever. Be a good Christian and share that eternal pain and suffering with the ones you love. I'm in hell. Not as hot as I thought it'd be. Kind of feels like Houston, minus the humidity. Hello. My favorite drink crafted to perfection. Ooh, and some dank ass weed.
I can't bear to be down on my face chanting, holy, holy, holy is the Lord, every day, all day, for all eternity, by myself.
Wow, is that George Carlin? And Alan Turing, look at that. Carl say, oh, I am so honored. You've been my hero since I was a kid. Neil deGrasse Tyson, what are you doing here? Oh, I get it. I get it. Schrodinger's heathen. Very cute, you. Very cute. That's fantastic. Oh, what is that? What is? It's holy water. Oh, it burns. No, this isn't where I want to be. Pabst Blue Ribbon and a Marlboro? No! Father Flanagan's post-mortem baptismal kit. Dead kid tested, Mother Teresa approved. Is that the Pope and John Paul? Jim Jones and Jimmy Swaggart, huh? I could see that coming. Neil deGrasse, what are you doing? Holy, holy, holy is the Lord. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord.
Thanks, Father Flanagan.
Damn them to an eternity in heaven for only $59.99. They wouldn't appreciate it, but you'll feel better, and that's the point, isn't it? Get yours now. Your heathen loved one's time is running out. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord. This is some bullshit. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord. All right, so here's some interesting things I just kind of want to mention. Kelly Shearer, I'm sorry you had an unfortunate experience at the Atheist place. I would be interested to know why they were yelling at you. Why would they yell at you? To hell with them, even though we don't believe in hell. Yeah, what the fuck? I'm sure we'll noodle it out. D says, so when has Jesus been to Constantinople, or what do they do? What do they call it? Istanbul. He wasn't there for the Hagia Sophia or the Vatican City. My understanding, Jesus was never in Istanbul, Constantinople, never. Yeah. I don't think there's any historical record that he ever went there. I believe there was a lot of Christian influence in the church. Paul might have gone there. I don't know. I have to look into that, but I don't know that Jesus ever. Yeah, his stuff was all in the Judea and allegedly a little bit in the beginning, when his early childhood in Egypt, allegedly. My understanding, though, it's been a while that since I've heard this, in one gospel, he goes down to Egypt. In the other gospel, he doesn't go south to Egypt, he goes north. So it just depends on which story. Anyway, Christians get triggered when you remind them that Rothschild's heart. Cygnus Schofield to edit the KJV Bible. I know, I don't really understand their deal with homosexuals. Well, I kind of do, actually. There's this mentality of people that's often in control of religion, and they're called, I think we're going to call them Amathians. It's those people who, anyway, right-wing Christian religious nutbags, they don't care. I don't think they ever care about homosexuals at all, necessarily. Why would they? I mean, King James was, is my understanding, a homosexual. How many of them lean on King James and don't even know that? And then they complain about homosexuals. And why do they even care? Why aren't they out petitioning Red Lobster? It says not to eat shellfish. Why don't you give a shit about people eating shellfish? Why is that not top of your list? I mean, they're doing it right there in front of you. It's not like gay people are having gay anal sex right in front of you. They might kiss each other and whatnot. That's not sex, right? But right there, they're eating shellfish. Right there, damn it. And you do nothing. Pathetic. You give a shit about those things. You give a shit about abortion, and yet you ignore the whole fact that your God loves murder and babies. Loves it. Your God creature loves murdering babies and raping little girls. Yeah. One of my favorite stories to harp on is Lot, the story of Lot. You remember the story of Lot, where two angels with the power of God went to Lot's house, and Lot, instead of letting the angels use their power to stop the horny horde of homosexual Hebrews, they actually weren't homosexuals, they were just a power thing. Anyway, they weren't able to stop them. Why didn't you have them stop them? No, the first thing he did was offer them his virgin daughters. That's the very first thing he did. Offer him his virgin daughters. Now, in case you don't know, this God creature, I mean, the whole story of Lot is because Abraham and Lot were favored of the Lord. They were favored. They were the righteous among the non-righteous. Abraham, the same guy who raped his wife's slave, got her pregnant, ran those out into the desert, holy and righteous. He's holy and righteous. Gave his sister wife to another man. That's holy and righteous. That's holy and righteous. So then Lot takes his daughters up to a cave and rapes them both and gets them both pregnant. Comes down and blames them. This is another hero of the Bible, a holy man. Abraham, Lot, Moses, David. Those are some of the biggest names in the Bible, and they're all fucking pieces of shit by today's morality. Every one of them. Now, there's this notion I've seen theists defend, well, it's just showing you that by God you can be redeemed. Even the worst of us can, but none of them are redeemed. They're not fucking redeemed. For David's sin of having sex with another man's wife and killing that man, for whatever reason, having a man killed and having sex with his wife and bearing a child. For his sin, his wives were raped publicly by his friend, and the child didn't live. That's his punishment. God laid no whip on David himself. He had his wives raped in public. Holy, merciful, loving, forgiving, peaceful, wise. That's the story of David. You go read that yourself. Have somebody smart read it to you. That's what you're here for. And now you heard me mention that Abraham gave his sister wife to the Pharaoh. He gave his sister wife to the Pharaoh. You guys, my regulars, are like, yeah, here it comes. Yeah, he gave his sister wife to the Pharaoh, and he gave her back, saying she gave me and my family a disease. Then he runs them off. Get the fuck out of my country. And it says they left and took everything they had with them. Abram, his wife, and Lot, his nephew, they left Egypt and they took everything. And they'd grown so wealthy from that they had to split up. Why did the Pharaoh let them take all that shit? Why did he let them take all their wealth if Abraham's wife had given him a disease? Because when someone gives you a disease, you don't want anything they have. Take everything you have and go. It's diseased, all of it. And go. And then the Pharaoh got the crotch cooties from the father of the Abrahamic religion. Were you circumcised at birth? Or did you change your faith for a woman and now she's gone? Or did your sister's lockjaw flare up at the worst possible time?
Guilty as charged.
We fear not, may we retired. Introducing Father Flanagan's line of at-home foreskin restoration kits. It won't cost you an arm and a leg, just an eyelid. Testimonials are already coming in. Mike from Dallas, Texas writes, ever since I got my penis caught in the blender, I haven't felt like a real man, but now I'm back and intact. Thank you, Father Flanagan. Steve from Florida says, I didn't really want my foreskin back, but my wife insisted. We did it, and well, you should see the look on her face. King Kelly writes, wow, getting my foreskin back literally doubled my length. After all these years, I can finally hold my heads high. Thank you, Father Flanagan. Father Flanagan's at-home foreskin restoration kits are part of our Tips for Tots and Adults community outreach program. Free eye patch and eye mister with each purchase. You can tell just by the look on his face whether he's packing or he's lacking. Microsurgery available for those extra small jobs. And in case you have any problems, Father Flanagan's highly trained medical staff are ready and waiting for your call.
Oh my God, I've never seen so much blood.
Thank you, Father Flanagan.
Thank you, Father Flanagan.
Father Flanagan's line of at-home foreskin restoration kits. Coming to a Walmart near you.
Mi burrito está no bueno, a full bladder I fear, Abraham's lies and Sarah.
Okay, so something went wrong. I hit the button, and some of you got 2 commercials at once. Some of you didn't hear shit. I am not a professional. Well, I am a professional, I guess, by that means. But my engineer is out. Ollie is out hanging out with the evil one. He's not running the show for me this morning, so that's kind of a problem. So I was going to play the... thought maybe I'd fat fingered it. I'm going to try to play the Pharaoh's Curse song for you. Let's see if it works.
Mi burrito está no bueno, it burns when I pee. Abraham had the crotch cooties and gave his sister wife to me.
I'm just having a tech hell of a kind of day, ain't I? Yeah, so there's that. All right, damn it. I think what the deal is that God Creature does not want me to play for you the Pharaoh's Curse song. I don't know what's going on. Let's see here. Let's just continue on with the show. I tried twice. Apparently, I've been raptured. I was raptured. That's right. Let's see. So Danny Cook, again, Danny says, actually, Jesus Christ replaced the Levitical law. No, he didn't. He didn't. He said he came to fulfill the law and that you're supposed to follow every jot and tittle. He didn't change a one. It's my understanding. Now, what you have to remember is that Jesus and Paul taught a different message. Paul didn't meet Jesus, first of one. He on the road of Damascus, they make his vision on the road of Damascus sound like a good thing. At best, it's a hallucination, right? Wouldn't it be in real life? At best, a hallucination. But he never met Jesus. And he taught things, a lot of things that Jesus never taught, never said nothing about, never. Such as, the replacement of this with Jesus being. No. Jesus said, do this. What was Jesus doing? Were you here a few minutes ago, Danny, whenever I was talking about what the Last Supper was? Jesus was a Jew right up to the end. He was celebrating the Last Supper. Or the Last Supper was the Passover. Remember, Jesus was celebrating Passover. Passover is a Jewish religious holiday, right? Passover is the celebration of the murder of the firstborn sons of Egypt. Passover is a celebration of murder of children. Jesus was celebrating that, wasn't he? That's what the whole Last Supper is. Jesus celebrating the murder of children as a Jew, following Jewish tradition. So this whole notion that you don't have to do what they did because blah, well, no, Jesus actually said, do what they did. If you look, my friend, if you're a Christian friend, go look in Mark chapter 1. Let's go do that together. In Mark chapter 1, Jesus heals a man. He heals his leprosy. And he tells him here, let me be facetious. He says, I have now healed your leprosy. You are saved through me. There's the end of my commercial thing still acting up. It's just being a bitch. So you don't have to do anything, all that. No, he didn't tell him that. He did not say that I have healed your leprosy and that because of me you are saved and through me you have to. No. He told the man, you now have been healed. Go to the temple. Make the sacrifices with the priests as per the law of Moses. That's what Jesus commanded. Wrong book. Gotta hit the enter. Let's go. Mark chapter 1. I think that's Mark chapter 1. Is that Mark 1? Mark chapter 1. Yeah. Mark chapter 1. Jesus, let's see, a man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Jesus was indignant. He reached out his hand and touched the man. I am willing, he said, be clean. Immediately, the leprosy left him and he was cleansed. That's cute. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them. It's Jesus. Jesus was a Jew. He was telling a Jewish man that he just healed to go offer his sacrifices to the Lord for this. Jesus was a Jew. Isn't that cute? So there is that. Now, I also want to mention to you Christian friends who have never heard this before, you notice where Jesus says, see that you don't tell this to anyone. And I think it's called the Christian mysteries or something like that. Messianic mysteries. Secrets, mystery. So here he says, see that you don't tell anyone. So how many places does he tell people in the New Testament? He heals them and then tells them not to tell anyone. Quite a few times, especially in Mark, I think. And yet we know about it. Not only did, in this case, he says, don't tell anyone. He even says, with a strong warning, the man who just healed you of fucking leprosy gives you a strong warning. I would suspect that man could give me that leprosy back. Would you not think? Anyway, Jesus, with a strong warning, says, see that you don't tell this to anyone. Instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. So this man, did Jesus punish him? Is this man screaming and gnashing in teeth in hell right now for his betrayal of the Lord? He betrayed Jesus. He betrayed Jesus right there. That man betrayed Jesus. Every time Jesus heals someone in the Bible, in the book of Mark, where he tells them not to tell anyone, they betray him and tell everyone. And then the author of the book betray him a millionfold over by putting those words in the book. If Jesus did not want people to know about it, why is it in the book? Jesus didn't want you to know about him healing this leper. He says so right here. You don't fuck what Jesus wants, though, right? Fuck what Jesus wants. So should you go and now take those all out of the Bible and cut all those out of the Bible now? All those times where he healed somebody and told them not to tell anybody because you shouldn't know about it? Like that time where he brought that little girl back to life and he told the people who were there not to tell anybody? I guess Mark chapter 7 or something. But they told everybody. Are they all now spending time in hell for eternity and for hell for betraying the Lord? You wonder? Let's see here. I just noticed what Flocky. I never, man, the chat goes by. Read this to the end. Okay. There's a joke. Please join Miss Non Sequitur and me for the damn random chat and chill this and every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. I lied. I never said it was a good joke. Okay. Okay, you win. All right, but yeah, check them out. Wednesday. It's a lot of fun over on our Discord. I'm going to put the Discord thing in the chat, guys, real quick. For you, because I'm nice. Discord. Now, this is just the link to the everyday Discord. Go over there, sign up, do the thing at the place with the stuff. And boop, Discord there. And I'll do it over here, too. Discord for you peoples. Wonderful people. If you're into the Discord thing, go over there. Wednesday nights, they do the thing at the place with the stuff. Let me see if I missed something. And then I missed what you said, Miss Kelly. I'm going to look here if I can see in my other chat. Take a briefie here. I want to see what was going on with Kelly. It seems like we had some atheist douchebags being douchebags. I'll have to wait and see whenever it pops up here. I'll watch. Yep, there's the link. I can't pin it from here, but it is very cool. Randy, good morning, Randy. Let's see. We have Brian Phillips here. Good morning, Brian. Ryan is here. 666. Bobby Jones says, give me some head and you will be saved. You know, I believe that very thing has happened in Africa. There was a small, I'm not even going to talk. I just go look it up on the internet. There was a priest who it was a thing. Hominid logic. There are over 2,000 scientific falsehoods in the Bible, and Christians expect me to take that book seriously. No shit. Let me pin this real quick, Hominid. I'm gonna pin this other website that for people. It's the one that shows all the contradictions in the Bible. Oh my goodness, there are so many contradictions. I can't believe it when they come in here and say the Bible has no contradictions and it's a single holy book. I'm like, what? You said that with a straight face, did you? All right, so let me do this for you guys. I'll pin it right here. Let me see. I'm gonna put it over here. This is one of my favorite ones. I'm gonna go here to this chat, my friends. That way I only have to put in once. There we go. Oopsie. One of the things that I think is so fascinating about the whole notion that the man has twisted the rules and it's man's fault that the Bible's not correct or there's interpretation. Every time I see that, my thoughts immediately jump to, so the word of your God creature, eternal and almighty, is that fallible? That easy to, is that malleable? That easy to misinterpret it and twist and lie? It's so, I mean, like, there are pure languages. Mathematics is a pure language. If God creature wanted us to understand his word, he could have created a pure and true Bible that nobody misunderstood. Nobody. But he didn't. It's so weak and pathetic that everybody, so many, how many different sects of that one religion we have, one religion being the Abrahamic religion? There's only one. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and any offshoot of any of those are all branches of the Abrahamic religion, whether they like to admit it or not. They're all the same. And why are there so many? Why aren't there a unified voice? Why isn't it? I mean, you hear these Christians talk about, I had a near-death experience and I could see the light and I looked down on my body and I looked up and there was Jesus and he had a blonde hair and a white beard and whatever. And yet people in other cultures don't have that same near-death experience. They don't wake up and see, even if they do have a near-death experience, if they weren't raised Christian, didn't believe in that bullshit, they don't see that sort of thing. Why? You would think it'd be universal, wouldn't it? If there's only one other plane of existence, per se for this example, and that other plane of existence is the plane where Jesus is and all that business, heaven, if you will, then when somebody peeks into that heaven, you would think it would be uniform. Wouldn't it? Objectively the same? Wouldn't it? Yeah, no, but it's not. It's not. And the word of this God creature is so, I mean, I want to say it's useless. Wouldn't you say it's useless? I mean, let's just do this real quick. Let's just do this. What is this? What is at stake here? What's at stake? If this God creature is real, then what's at stake is the eternal lives or the eternal torment, conscious and aware torment for billions of people for all eternity. That's what's at stake here. That's what the book is about. The book, no matter which way you look at it, especially if you're Christian, the book is like, do it my way or you're going to burn in hell forever. That's what the whole thing is. Either or, it's one or the other. So, and we have so many contradictions. I put the thing up in the chat. So I pinned that. Really, the one I should have pinned was the one for her. Like for the one that they put up for our Wednesday thing. Yeah, the whole deal is, oh, there's John Hudson. Hey, John, how's it going? Bailey's feeling better. She is. She appreciates all the love and all the flowers and the dick pictures you sent her. Usable Gamer, good morning. Wrong, it's will free. God is not a creature. You don't understand God. Creatures are created by God. You obviously are dumb and blind and willfully ignorant. See, that's, remember my friends, we talk about the Christian projection. This here it is in the chat. Those who are blind and willfully ignorant, calling those who are not that which they are. You're a religious person, Christian person with Christ in your thing. So, I'm pinning the wrong thing. So, you must believe the things we were talking about, right? God, all that business, killing babies, murdering children, sacrifice of children. I hadn't even gotten to the good part where we talk about Jesus Christ much. I barely touched on about Jesus Christ himself being a child sacrifice, the first breach of the womb. Yeah, sure enough. Says you. This is going to be one of those, no, you are. Are you going to be one of the ones that are into the evolution? You don't believe in evolution, Watchman? Is that going to be your stance? Do you believe in evolution, Watchman? I'm just kind of curious. I'm waiting. Just, if they believe in that evolution or not. Boop, 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 waiting. Sometimes there's a delay. Watchman, God does not condone child sacrifice. Atheists are responsible for over 65 million abortions in the USA alone. Yeah, see, you haven't been here very long, have you? You're kind of ignorant and you don't know what you're talking about at all, do you? Do you? Nothing. Jesus fucking Christ is a child sacrifice. Wear that for a minute. What's John? Read John 3:16 for me, friend. What is John 3:16? For God so loved the world that he did what? What did he do? He gave his only begotten son. That's a fucking child sacrifice. You worship a child sacrifice. What kind of disgusting piece of shit are you that you worship a child sacrifice? Oh, Jesus wasn't a child. He was a grown man. Well, it doesn't matter. It was God's child, correct or not? If you're a 50-year-old and you kill your own 30-year-old son, you've still committed your own child sacrifice. You killed your child. God killed his child for you. That's literally what it says. God killed his child for you. God committed child sacrifice for you. How is that not disgusting? No. I'm not going to burn. No, don't run away, coward. Don't run away. No. I'm saying words. We're not. Jesus is a fucking child sacrifice. Put it in the chat for me. Type it in there for me. Enjoy hellfire, demon. Wait. Your God is so pathetic that its message is so weak and pathetic that it had to create a hell so it could scare us all into not wanting to go there? Really? Weak and pathetic. Weak and pathetic. And again, you weren't listening, were you? Whenever I told you, you weren't here probably, whenever we showed you where Moses himself was commanded by God to murder children. Moses commanded his soldiers. See, Moses commanded by God to kill all the Midianites. The generals came back and told Moses, we didn't kill them all. We saved some of the women and children. And Moses, on God's authority, told them, because they were already supposed to all be dead, right? He says, go kill all the little ones among the males, all the women who have not known a man, and all the girls, all the men, all the little ones who have not known a man, and save the little ones who have not known a man for yourself. So he commanded them to take sex slaves out of little children and commanded them to murder little boys. Jesus, if you think Jesus and God are the same thing, did that. And then, of course, back to Jesus, child sacrifice. Abraham, did Abraham sacrifice his son Isaac? Well, wait a second. Why does it even come up? Why is it even in the story? They don't talk about them going to water slides because water slides weren't there and they didn't do water slides, right? So why were they doing child sacrifices? Because they were doing child sacrifices. Exodus 13:1, God tells them to sacrifice their firstborn to them. Exodus 13:23, God tells them to sacrifice their firstborns to them. Ezekiel 22, God brags about telling them in his Exodus about child sacrifice. You don't know what you're talking about if you think God doesn't approve of child sacrifices. You're either willfully ignorant, just as you said here yourself. So that's why I said it's Christian projection. Everything you said has been Christian projection. Who's willfully ignorant now? Let me go back in here and see if you just ran off or if you ever answered the question. Sometimes I can see. Sometimes I cannot. God bless you, atheists. I hope you recognize the anger in your heart is not from the Almighty, but in turn he will restore everything the enemy has stolen from you. No, our anger in our heart is not for your God. It's for what you do, for what Christians do to other people, imposing your shit on other people. Really, that's kind of why I'm here. Most atheists don't give a shit about anything. We're doing our own lives, but you people oppress other people with your shit so much that some of us has said it's time to stop. And in my view, the way I do it is I show you how ridiculous and disgusting your religion is. It's ridiculous and it's disgusting. And the only reason why you believe it is because you've been programmed since childhood to think it's beautiful and loving. But here's the example I like to use, friends, Christian friends. Okay, sacrificing your children is you approve of that as a method of redemption? You must, because that's what happened with Jesus, right? Jesus was sacrificed for you, therefore you must approve of a child sacrifice, must you not? or you disapprove of what happened with Jesus. Jesus was firstborn of Mary's womb, was he not? So Exodus 13:1, where God says, Exodus 22, do not hold back from me. You must give me the firstborn of your sons. Jesus was the firstborn son of Mary. Was she not? Was he not? And the Son of God, allegedly. Therefore, it was his own sacrifice. He sacrificed his only begotten son. Jesus Christ is a child sacrifice. You don't realize it, though. You don't want to accept it. Jesus is God's son. God sacrificed his son for you. That is a child sacrifice. And it's holy. It's loving. Okay. So here's my little story I'd like to tell. I go down to the local grocery store. I rob the place. I come home. Man, I feel bad. I feel bad for it. God is pissed off at me. I've sinned. And now, if I'm not careful, I'm going to burn in hell or whatever. I'm very upset. Notice I didn't say I was upset because the store was mad at me or that I'd done something wrong over there. I was upset because God creature's mad at me, and I'm not going to give, because that's what's really important, isn't it? Not what these people think or what those people think. Not somebody who can hurt you in this life, but like Jesus said, somebody who can hurt you in the next life forever. Be afraid of that person. That's God. Remember? So anyway, so I went over to the grocery store. I robbed the grocery store. And now I feel bad because I've done that. I'm afraid God is going to punish me. Okay, Christians, are you with me? So now, because I've been wrong, it's okay in your mind. This is holy and beautiful that I go in the back room and I grab my son, my 10-year-old son. I bring him out here in the living room. And now we're going to cut his throat and take his blood and sprinkle it on the altar and sprinkle it on myself, and I will be holy again. That makes sense to you, doesn't it? Christians? Doesn't it? Why doesn't it? Why is that disgusting? Why? That's what Jesus did. That's what Jesus is. God sacrificed. The only difference is in my scenario, it'd have to be where like I did wrong and I am mad at myself. I am pissed off. I am so just, I'm so mad that I'm going to sacrifice this to myself. That doesn't even make any more sense, does it? But anyway, so now it makes sense to you that I can go in there and get my 10-year-old boy and I can sacrifice him. That by you is wise and holy. Let's extend that further. While I was at the store, I accidentally killed, I didn't accidentally, doesn't matter. I killed a security guard while I was there. Now, my friends, my sin is even worse, isn't it? It's worse. I didn't just steal, but I also killed. So now a 10-year-old won't do, will it? No. Remember, the more you've sinned, the worse you be, the bigger the sacrifice has to be, right? Jesus is pure and loving and holy. He's absolutely the purest man he has to be because he's paying the price for all the world. So he has to be ultra innocent, right? So my 10-year-old son won't do. I go in the bedroom and I get my 3-year-old son because he's more what? He is more innocent. He is more innocent. And therefore I can now sacrifice him to the God monster, and I can absolve myself of the robbery and the murder by sacrificing my son to my God. These make sense to you because that's what you believe. That's the naked truth of your religion, whether you want to accept it or not. You just don't want it. You like the idea that Jesus was the Son of God. He's the Father, the Son. Jesus never calls himself God, by the way. He never does. Never in the Gospels does he call him. Synoptic Gospel. Never once does he do it. Never once. Never. Anyway, so you're down with that. You're down with the whole sacrificing of your son. Remember, my friends, before you go, Jesus wasn't a child sacrifice. Well, Jesus was God's son. Remember, if you sacrifice your son, it doesn't matter how old your son is. He's your son. Therefore, he's your child. Child sacrifice. God sacrificed Jesus for your sins. Therefore, Jesus is a fucking child sacrifice. You deny it? Very disgusting. Very disgusting. The hardest part is that you people, most of you don't even know it. And then you lie and deny it. How can you deny it? How can you have like tattoos with John 3:16 for the God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son and not know that it was a child sacrifice? How can you do that? Remember, like I was going to go in Mark chapter 1, when Jesus met God, he comes out from the water. It never says anything about Jesus and God before this. John baptizes Jesus, brings him out of the water, the heavens open up, and God says, "You are my son, and I am pleased with you." He doesn't say, you are me. Why would he be telling them that? You are my son and I'm pleased. Go read Mark chapter 1 yourself if you don't believe me. Next up in the bark bank, a clergyman with a holy hustle and maybe a few unholy loopholes.
Hi, Barks. Blessings and belly rubs to you all. I'm Father Flanagan, and today I'm here seeking $50,000 for 3% of my soul-saving startup, Holy Halos, the world's first, soon-to-be, church-approved condoms. Following the ways of the Lord can be hard and often require sacrifices of the flesh. Well, fear not, my wayward child. Introducing Father Flanagan's line of Holy Halo condoms.
Hold on, Father. The church very much doesn't like condoms. How do you expect to sell these?
Well, you're right, but these aren't just any condoms. No, my furry financiers, these are permeable. But every single halo has been dipped in holy water, a divine divider between you and sin. You can finally frolic freely and still keep that sweet spot in heaven. Permeable, but dipped in holy water to keep the sin out, but let the babies in.
Let you get your stick wet without getting your stick stuck.
If you know what I mean.
Oh my! Very embarrassing every time.
So basically, they don't work as condoms, but they let you get away with having sex without going to hell?
Exactly. The church gets to keep making babies, but you don't have to keep going to confession. Think of it. No more guilt. No more awkward I'm saving myself for marriage speeches. With Holy Halos, you can take those pray hands and turn them into lay hands.
Didn't I read that holy water is full of bacteria like E. coli? Won't this be harmful to women's health?
The words are English, but I don't understand the question.
How are you addressing the issue holy water presents for women's health?
Again, I'm not understanding.
She does that. Well, we don't get it either.
Is that mesh from a window screen?
Ah, that's a keen eye you have there, young lass. Yes. Another fine selling point, rough on the outside to increase her shame as it should be, but soft and smooth on the inside, internally lubed and ribbed for his pleasure. We even have custom scents.
Scents? Now you have my attention. What flavors we talking? Don't pitch me that vanilla missionary nonsense, Padre.
Well, we do have virgin vanilla, but we also have miracle mint and a cooing camel and my personal favorite, sweat of the Savior.
And the Vatican, they've blessed this endeavor?
Well, not exactly. I'm still waiting on the papal decree one way or the other.
I love it, but you're asking 50 grand for only 3%. That's rough, Father, real rough.
Not running with the big dogs on this one. I'm gonna stay on the porch.
Me too. Good luck, Father. 15%.
Ouch, 15%, that's highway robbery even for the church.
Come on, Father, we're dogs. We know a bone when we see one. 10%, and we'll even bless your branding.
Look, meet me in the middle, 7%, and I'll baptize all your puppies.
7% works for me. Father Flanagan, it looks like
Wait a second. Our producers say we have a special call-in bidder. Let's get him up on the screen. Folks, we have the guardian of the sacred fire hydrant himself.
Oh no.
Defender of the holy tennis ball and eater of the golden kibble, Pup Oliver Poops a Lot the Fifth.
Flanagan!
Yes, your portrait.
50,000 at 20%.
20%?
And you get to keep calling yourself a father.
Sold to the pup in the very fine hat.
I knew you'd see it my way.
You're very wise, your hiney. Would there be anything else?
You may leave.
Father Flanagan's line of holy halos, ultra thin, spiritually thick. Available in 3 sizes, conservative, medium, and liberal. All right, we are back. So we've got King's on Assurance. Says, an adult is not a child. Do not compare with your pea brain. Thank you, King's on Assurance. Thank you for correcting me. Is Jesus not the Son of God? Okay. You're a 60-year-old man. Do you have any sons or daughters? Do you have any children? You do. You've got a 34-year-old son, and he is your child. Okay. that he is your child. Therefore, that would be child sacrifice. Regardless of how old he was, it's the relationship between you and him that makes it a child sacrifice. Otherwise, it's just a human sacrifice, and you're okay with that one anyway. Either way, it's disgusting. But the relationship of the person and the victim matter. Therefore, Jesus Christ is a child's fucking sacrifice. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. That's a child sacrifice. God did that. Your God. Child sacrifice. We already talked about Abram and all those piece of shit heroes of the Bible who killed children or hurt children or... Anyway, let's move on. KLN says the only religion that talks about love and kindness and mercy is the one that Jesus Christ is in charge of. Otherwise, every other religion is based on works and hate and killing. No, actually, Christianity's been murdering people for 2,000 years. Exactly because of what you say right here. Because your opinion, you say right now that that's what Christianity is about. But the Christian sitting right next to you disagrees with you. It's not about works. It's about, or not about faith. It must be about works, right? So now you two are going to go kill each other and your families and everybody around you because you think it's not about works and they think it is about works, right? Don't say that doesn't happen. Looking at you, Protestant Reformation. Millions of people murdered. Now, so this whole love and peace, really, your people are spreading love and peace. Your people spread oppression everywhere they go. There's a phrase that's very popular for some reason. I don't know why it is. That whole, there's no hate like Christian love. Why is that, you think? Because you're a hateful group of people, as a group of people. Individually, not so much generally, but as a group of people on the whole. You're down to oppress. You, like every trans person in this country who lost their careers in the military, deserves an apology from you because Christians are the ones that kicked them out of there. Anyway, Hairwolf says, Jesus is king. I'm going to pray for you right now. Did it work? What good is it going to do? Hairwolf, first of all, I mean, why would Jesus alter his plan? Why would God alter his plan for me? For you? It's very narcissistic of you to think that your prayer would do anything. Right? I mean, God's got a plan, doesn't he? Oh, come on, man. Christian up. Second of all, I'd like to mention that you said Jesus is king, and I love it when you guys do this. Jesus is not king. He was never king. He never held a throne. He never had borders. He never levied taxes. Never held a war. Nope, never negotiated in the name of a kingdom, was never recognized as a king by anyone except for Pontius Pilate, who spat it at him as an insult. King of the Jews. He was never king. John chapter 6. The people tried to make him a king, and he ran away to the hills. They tried to make him a king because of his glory and all this, just like you do. And he ran away to the hills because he didn't want to be king. The Jews did not want him to be king. He was never fucking king. But you carry on repeating that slur that was spat at him, just like the way you guys like to show the cross around. This is the device you were executed on, not executed on. Here it is. You see it? When Jesus comes back, he's going to see all those crosses around your house. I would be fucking horrified. Horrified if I were Jesus and I saw a cross. Horrified. And you got them in your fucking earlobes? Your belly piercing? Around your neck. Oh, look, here's the thing that you were sacrificed on, where you spent like 3 whole horrific hours before somebody stabbed you and pulled you down. Let's see. A blind leading the blind to the slaughter. There's a slaughter? Really? Loving, merciful, forgiving, kind, slaughter. And again, the Jesus thing. Yeah, sure. Jesus came and said, love thy neighbor. Turn the other cheek. Or burn in hell. Worship God through me. Or burn in hell. Everything Jesus said ends with, or burn in hell. Jesus has one message. Go to God through him. That's the end message. Nothing else really matters, is it? That's the one thing there. We're talking about an eternity and perdition, regardless of what you think it is. Or burn in hell. Everything Jesus says. Either walk the walk Jesus wants you to do, or do what? Or burn in hell. Jesus' entire ministry was a threat. It was a fear threat, if you're talking about hell. Hey, don't be afraid of he who can hurt you now in this life. Be afraid of he who can hurt you in the afterlife. That's Jesus talking, telling you watch out for God, right? Is that not what that is? So yeah, Jesus was never king. Also, king's on assurance, Jesus was indeed the child of God, his own son, regardless of the age. Doesn't matter. If you were 60 years old and you killed your 40-year-old son, it's still your child. If you sacrificed your child, it's your child. You might use the word grown child if you want to. That's fine. I don't care. Whenever they killed all the breach of the womb of Egypt, it didn't matter how old you were. Firstborn of Egypt. It doesn't say firstborn child. It says firstborn. Just like Jesus, firstborn. He was the first to breach the womb. Didn't matter what their ages were. First to breach the womb. And again, Jesus was never king. Never king. Every time you say he's king, you're spitting the same insult that Pilate spat at him. Good on you. And then KLNV5M bolsters one of my favorite points and says, you are insulting Jesus Christ when you swear like that. That is very sad. I'm insulting Jesus. The creator of the entire universe, all of time, trillions of galaxies, all of billions of people. He can see every leaf on every flower, every tree on every tree, every leaf on every tree, every petal on every flower. He knows your heart inside and out. He knows yesterday from today. He knows the end from the beginning from the end. That God, that Jesus, that one. And this little chattering monkey with my tiny, tiny little words in this tiny, tiny little room hurt its feelings. It gets its feelings hurt. Your God gets his feelings hurt by my word. Really? So could I defeat your God creature with just bad words? Is that how pathetic and weak your God is? Now, I want you to know, there's a word for that. It's called blasphemy, and people have murdered people for blasphemy. You know that, right? You know that, right? Your religious Christian people have murdered other people just for saying bad words about your God creature, because these little chattering monkeys can hurt its feelings because it's that pathetic and weak. Isn't that interesting? Very fun. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the show and go hang out with... Thank you, Bobby. Go hang out with the evil one because she's home for today. And I got other stuff I'm working on. I got an audition coming up, so I got to do that too. No, that guy, here's the deal. Guy. So your God isn't real, first of all, point A. And second of all, the writings and the religion that God creature is based on are fucking ridiculous. I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to free your mind. Trying to show you how ridiculous and harmful it is and disgusting it is. Jesus is a child sacrifice. That's what the show is about. The people of Christianity, it's a blood cult. They worship a blood cult. It's a what do you call it? An end times cult, waiting for death, aren't they? Isn't that what Christianity is? No? Interesting. Let's see. And yet he has to point out anything that God isn't real. So no. Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to point out how stupid and religious your religion is. God impregnated a 12-year-old girl pedo so he could get her pregnant, so he could have himself, so he could come into the world and kill himself for you, to protect you from who? From himself. That's just fucking stupid. That's stupid. You know what else is stupid? He didn't sacrifice himself. He didn't. Your Jesus did not sacrifice himself. Nope, he did not. If he had sacrificed himself, he would have gone down to the Jewish temple, told him while he was there. They would have prepared him properly, gotten some oil, some incense, got an altar, a priest. They would have said some prayers and sacrificed him as they did with sacrifices, unblemished, unbroken. But that's not what he did. He was hiding in the Garden of Gethsemane, wasn't he? Like a coward. Like a coward. And then whenever they did come to get him, he was hiding so well among his own people that Judas had to reach in and grab him out and kiss him to show them who he was, because he was hiding among the disciples. That's why Judas had to kiss him. You don't think they walked up there, the Romans walked up there, and Jesus was sitting on a fucking pedestal teaching No, he was hiding among his people, and that's why Judas had to kiss him. Now, you say he went willingly, but go read the words in the Garden of Gethsemane. No, he did not. You know the words. I'll say the words, Christians, and you can follow with me, okay? Remember, please let this cup pass from... Go ahead, can you finish it for me? I'm paraphrasing. Please, Lord, Jesus talking to God about what's about to come the next day. Please let this pass from me. How many times does he beg God to not have to go through with it in the Garden of Gethsemane? And then God essentially says, bitch, you're going through with it whether you want to or not. So let me ask you, is that a willing sacrifice? You can say no. You can say no. It wasn't. Not at all. Why was he hiding in the garden? Why didn't he just turn himself in at the temple and do a fucking sacrifice? No, he was hiding in the garden. And he was not sacrificed by the Jews. He was executed by the Romans. The Romans don't sacrifice things to the Jews. They don't. Jewish gods. No, the Romans don't worship Jewish gods. They don't sacrifice Jewish gods. Jews didn't sacrifice him by giving him up to the Romans. That's not the way it happened. Because they couldn't kill him themselves because of Roman law, they gave him to them to kill him. No. They even denied that he was their king. He said, no, he's not our king. He's not our boss. So they denied him. So if they denied him, it wasn't a sacrifice. Nowhere was it a sacrifice. And then you continue on with the logic of the thought. Listen, man, who are you watching, Christian? How long have you been watching me this channel this morning? How long have you been watching me? You've sacrificed that time. You'll never get that time back. You cannot go do other things with that time now because you have sacrificed it to be with me. Jesus went back up to heaven bodily and knew he was going to from the beginning. That's not a sacrifice, is it? It's not a fucking sacrifice. Jesus, technically, if he were just, is he taking my place? He should be burning in hell all alone right now, all by himself. The only one gnashing teeth is Jesus right now. If he's not, then he didn't pay my price, right? But he knew ahead of time. He defeated death. He knew ahead of time because he's God. He's the creator of the all eternal universe, and yet he fears death. That's not a sacrifice. That's just fucking stupid. You see how ridiculous your religion is? At every front, a diamond with every facet flawed. Every one. It wasn't a sacrifice. By no measure. And yet you think it was because you were told it was. And you're like, Jesus is so wonderful. He's wonderful because he sacrificed himself. No. He begged not to go through with it. He begged not to. One of the Gospels says he was sweating blood. He was so terrified. So really, probably what really happened was he didn't know the Romans were coming for him. Indeed, he did. And he was indeed terrified. There was no getting out of it. There was no getting away. He was just fucking terrified. Anyway, I think I'm just going to do one more for you guys, and I'm going to wrap this up and go do that voodoo. I got a dog to wash. Bailey is a stanky dog. Hey, guys. Have you, let's do this one. And then what? Were you circumcised at birth? Or did you change your faith for a woman and now she's gone? Or did your sister's lockjaw flare up at the worst possible time?
Guilty as charged.
Well, fear not, my wayward child. Introducing Father Flanagan's line of at-home foreskin restoration kits. It won't cost you an arm and a leg, just an eyelid. Testimonials are already coming in. Mike from Dallas, Texas writes, ever since I got my penis caught in the blender, I haven't felt like a real man, but now I'm back and intact. Thank you, Father Flanagan. Steve from Florida says, I didn't really want my foreskin back, but my wife insisted. We did it and, well, you should see the look on her face. King Kelly writes, wow, getting my foreskin back literally doubled my length. After all these years, I can finally hold my heads high. Thank you, Father Flanagan. Father Flanagan's at-home foreskin restoration kits are part of our Tips for Tots and Adults community outreach program. Free eye patch and eye mister with each purchase. You can tell just by the look on his face whether he's packing or he's lacking. Microsurgery available for those extra small jobs. And in case you have any problems, Father Flanagan's highly trained medical staff are ready and waiting for your call.
Oh my God.
I've never seen so much blood.
Thank you, Father Flanagan.
Thank you, Father Flanagan.
Father Flanagan's line of at-home foreskin restoration kits, coming to a Walmart near you. All right, we're back. Jay Bledsoe asks, how do you reply to people on here? I just try to catch them in the chat as best I can. I'm usually just ranting every now and then. I see what they say, and I try to answer as I go along, but it's just me running the show, so let's see here. Corey, dude, drop the all caps, man. Be a grown-up or we're going to bounce you. I don't care what your message is. Stop with the all caps. Says you're only here to all. The judgment is here. Corey, judgment is here? Let me ask you, Corey, how many generations of humans have lived since Jesus died? 88 or so generations? Judgment is here, all right. Oh, yeah, it's here. You think shit's bad now? You think? You remember World War I, 1917 to 1918? We had a world war that killed like 20 million people, turned around right with the Spanish flu that killed another 50 million people. Death all over the world. That's not worse. That's worse. I mean, this is worse than that now? Really? Interesting. Yeah, no, your God is not love. It's none of that business. And Corey and those others, I said, I'm going to wrap up the show. I'm actually 5 minutes late on wrapping up the show. And you're saying like, yay, wrapping up the show. Rewind, bitch. Watch it tomorrow. You really should watch what I talk about on here and go learn something. You should go learn something. Go rewatch the show. Go watch last week's show. You'll learn something. Let's see. And yet he had, okay, that's that one. Corey's all please do. And then Watchman CK, serious question. Are you gay? Is it a serious question? If it's a serious question, what does it have to do with what I'm doing as an atheist and speaking out against Christianity? What does that have to do with anything? No, the answer is no. I'm not gay. I have no problem admitting if I were. None whatsoever, because I'm in a community that accepts and welcomes gay people. I have no problem with it. I'm not even insulted that you think I'm gay. The problem is that you think it's an insult because you're probably a Christian and you like to oppress other people. What do you care if I'm gay or not? What does it matter? I'm exposing the horrific nature of your God creature. Does it matter whether I put things in my butt? And it's also interesting how, despite being so anti-gay, the Christian conservatives are the ones that crash the grinder every time they meet. Interesting. I just don't really get the insult. And then Golden Trichotomy says, did you perform sodomy? I don't know if you're talking to me or not, or if you're talking to somebody else. I think the question may be related to them. I don't know. I do want to mention that according to Ezekiel, Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed in Genesis 18, 20, 21. It says they were destroyed because there was an outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah was great, and their sin was very grave. Then in Ezekiel 16, 49 and 50, he says, citing their pride, their abundance of food, their neglect of the poor, and abominable acts. And it doesn't even say what those abominable acts are. Is that homosexuality or is it sacrificing children? Which would it be? You don't know, but you just assume, right? So sodomy is bad because what? What did God destroy Sodom for? Let's do this again. Their pride. Oh, you're very proud, aren't you? You're very proud because you're a Christian and God loves you. You're proud. Jesus Christ loves you. You're so narcissistic and proud. Their abundance of food and the neglect of the poor, which seems to be like a signature move of modern day Christians, taking over our government and starving the poor. Anyway, and their abominable acts. And I can think of a great many abominable acts that Christians do on the regular. Somebody in the chat earlier mentioned that wasn't there a Christian high school football coach or something arrested this past weekend for essaying a child. And I think that person probably missed the part where I was talking about the newsletter I'm working up called The Millstone, where when I run the thing last week, I don't know how it'll go. I haven't run it since last week, but last week they had 29 reported church officials of whatever kind sexually assaulting someone. 29 in 1 week across this country. high school football coaches from a religious place, a pastor from over here, a priest from over here, a Sunday school teacher from over here. Yeah. Very fascinating with you people. With your abominable acts. And, you know, really, for those of you who in the know, it's not just that those who did the hurting of the children, it's also the ones that protected them, remember? The ones that shifted them from place to place to place. They were willing to sacrifice the children to protect the church. Interesting stuff. Guys, tomorrow's Tuesday. It's going to be a very fun day. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Send safely, my friends. And for those of you Christians who are new to the chat, come back tomorrow. You'll learn something. I'm going to talk about something all new tomorrow. See what we're doing, in case you didn't know. We're going through the Destroying Christianity series. Go to destroyingchristianity.com. Let's do this together, my friends. Have an adult. Type it in there for you. Destroyingchristianity.com, and you'll see there's different sections. Section 1 is sanitized. We did that 2 days ago. Business days will be Thursday. Sanitized is how you guys think God is like some loving, wonderful father, but actually it's a hideous fucking monster, both in face and in action. So section 1 is called sanitized. Section 2, we talked about yesterday, is about how your God creature lies. It lies all the time. It lied to Adam and Eve, and the serpent was the one telling it the truth. Go watch yesterday or Friday's show. Right. Today was about sacrifice, about how your Jesus is literally a child fucking sacrifice, and you can't even admit it. You like to think your God creature doesn't kill children, but you love the story about how the God freed the people from Egypt by the 10 plagues and how he killed all the children of Egypt. You guys are fucking weird. And then the next chapter is Drained. So tomorrow we'll be talking about Drained, which is about how essentially it's a blood cult. You're in a blood cult, literally a blood cult. You are. And so go to destroyingchristianity.com and look at Drained, and that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. Washed in the blood of... Aren't you clean through the blood of Jesus? Sin safely, my friends. Take care.
Got a house that smells like old cheese and shame. Father Flanagan's flesh candles change the game. Goat-scented thrills for your soul's delight. Light it up, baby, make your room right. When you've sinned and need to atone, light a candle and avoid the stone. Smell the goat in a holy zone. Father Flanagan, here to set the tone. Confession booth, busy, no need to stress. Light a candle and forget your mess. Gross odors vanish like sins in the wind. With each wick, guess who's your new best friend? When you've sinned and need to atone, light a candle and avoid the stone. Smell the goat in a holy zone. Father Flanagan, here to set the tone. Lambs and calves may have their day, but goats, the scent that leads the way. Clean your slate with a sniff so pure. Father Flanagan's got the cure. Turn your home into a saintly space. With every whiff, find redeeming grace.